Good evening. I'm Mark Sforzini, the artistic and executive director of St. Petersburg Opera Company. Thank you for joining me tonight for Facebook Live, Opera and Chill. We just finished live streaming our 2019 performance of Suor Angelica. And I'm looking forward to telling you more about Suor Angelica. And also our very special guest tonight is Suor Angelica herself, Susan Hellman Spatafora, and she will be joining us in just a little bit. So last night we aired Gianni Schicchi, another Puccini one-act opera. Puccini wrote a collection of three known as Il Trittico. The first was a tragedy, Il Tabarro, followed by the second, Suor Angelica, and then the third was the comic opera Gianni Schicchi. Puccini intended for all three to be performed together in one evening as a set, but the tradition now has become that often just two of these will be performed in one evening, or sometimes one of these one-act operas will be performed with something else, like they might pair Gianni Schicchi with Pagliacci by Leoncavallo or something like that. So back in May 2019, St. Pete Opera did a double bill. The first half was Suor Angelica, and then the second half was Gianni Schicchi. So we just finished viewing Suor Angelica, and I always like to introduce the cast. One of the things that I've been doing on my show is printing up headshots of all the cast, and I think it is particularly appropriate for this show because so many of them wear the same costume. Suor Angelica is set in a convent, and most of the characters are dressed like nuns, so it's very hard to see what they actually look like. And so I'm going to show you who the cast is. So I already mentioned Susan Spatafora as Suor Angelica. And the Principessa is Claudia Chapa. And actually, you know, I always talk about how this show is live. This is live, and I can see that the lighting is a little too bright, so just excuse me for a quick second while I fix the lighting here. All right, so that was Claudia Chapa as the Principessa, and Stephanie Jabret as Sister Genevieve. Taylor Alexis DuPont as the Mother Abbess. Climb every mountain. Juliana Curcio as the Monitress. I think it's nice to see what these wonderful opera artists look like without their nun costume on, you know. Rachel Moss was Mistress of the Novices. Rachel Moss, Mistress of the Novices. Kelly Curtin was the first alms sister, Kelly Curtin, and she was also in the Gianni Schicchi last night. Quinn Middleman was the second alms sister. Liz Bauk was the nursing sister. There's Liz Bauk, nursing sister. The artist formerly known as Jordan Campbell, now Jordan Blair, was a lay sister. There's Jordan Blair. Jordan lives here in the Tampa Bay area, as also does Alexandra Riddims, who was the other lay sister, Alexandra Riddims. Laura Lynn McGill was our sister Dulcina. Emily Robinson, the novice. And Julia Glicksberg as Sister Osmina. And I often talk about the stage director, and I had the foresight to print up a headshot of the stage director of our Puccini double bill. There is Joshua Miller, Dr. Joshua Miller, our wonderful stage director. So that was the cast for Johnny Skiki, for Suor Angelica, A lot of characters in both of these shows. And I want to thank our Suor Angelica sponsor, Belinda Dumont, who also happened to be our Season 13 artistic sponsor. Thank you, Belinda Dumont, for your sponsorship, and also the Tampa Bay Times. So I would like to now bring on our special guest. When I met her, her name was Susan Hellman. Since that time, she has become Susan Hellman Spatafora, and affectionately Susie. So I'm going to transition over here to Susan, or Susie. Hi, how are you tonight?
I'm doing wonderfully. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. You know, I was telling our viewers last night that I had spent the weekend downloading OBS software to try to enhance my Facebook Live shows. So it's been a really fast learning curve to try to pull together all of this technology and stuff. I've gotten pretty comfortable with the split screen, but as you know, there's still a lot of things that could go wrong. As they say in our business, horrible dress rehearsal, great show, right?
Yeah, that's very true. It's going to be a great show, and I loved watching last night. I had so much fun, and Lucas was such an incredible guest, so it was super fun.
Well, I know you will be an incredible guest too. I mean, Susie, you are somebody who's very near and dear to my heart, and we have a long and rich history, and I just really wanted to devote the focus of tonight's show to talking to you and asking you some questions and kind of talking about your whole arc of everything you've done at St. Pete Opera. So you came here, I think the first time the year was 2010 for our first production of Carmen. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, May and June 2010.
And there's actually a clip out there on YouTube of you singing Michaela's aria with us in 2010. So viewers can go and view that if they would like to. What coming here from, well, I know you're a resident artist at Palm Beach Opera, but you were from the North, coming to St. Petersburg and this new young opera company. What did you think of all of that? What did you think of St. Pete and the St. Pete Opera?
Well, I had just done Glimmerglass. I had done some really great young artist programs. And then I was in Palm Beach for 2 years, and I had phenomenal experiences there, but I actually had never done like a real show up and do a professional gig for a few weeks and then, you know, go on your merry way and try for something else. And this experience completely blew me out of the water. I really expected, it was a very young company at the time, and I just thought, like, oh gosh, what's the orchestra going to be like? What's the conductor going to be like? And it was just truly magic. Dean Anthony directed, you conducted. Like, I know we've talked about this before, but the way that you conduct as a former orchestra player is that you conduct the piece as a whole, which is just such a beautiful experience. And I had Dean to teach me that you have to look before you move. And I just fell in love with St. Pete, and as many people from St. Pete know, that in 2010 when I came down here, I met my husband Christopher, and subsequently moved down here and then worked for the company for 7 years. And so it was really a life-changing experience and a really wonderful one, and I'm incredibly grateful for it.
Well, yeah, let me fill in our viewers, because maybe everybody doesn't know this. In addition to being an amazing professional opera singer, you are also an amazing administrator, development person. You worked for us as an associate director of development for 7 years, but you started singing with the company in 2010. and you're still ongoing singing with us. I think the last event you sang for St. Pete Opera was February 29th, 2020, which was right before we all shut ourselves in our houses. So you've had this long, ongoing singing relationship with the company. I want to tell everybody watching, because I don't really have an occasion to tell people this, but I think this is a great forum for it. The first time I heard you sing, you sang for me at the Palladium Theater. We were having auditions downstairs in the Great Room, and I remember you sang Michaela's aria, and I was completely captivated by your singing. And then in the same week, I happened to be a judge for the St. Petersburg Opera Guild Young Professionals Competition, which at the time was called the Florida Suncoast Opera Guild. And I heard you sing Michaela's aria and Si mi chiamano Mimi again in the same week, and I just wanted to cast you so badly. You know, I so wanted you to come here and be our Michaela, and I'm so glad you did, and it sounds like it changed your life, because you not only did you come here and sing opera and work, but you met your husband.
Yeah.
So I feel like
it was really...
I feel like things like that are meant to be. So over these 10 years, you've done a whole bunch of different things singing with St. Pete Opera. I kind of wanted to review some of those quickly. You also sang with the Tampa Bay Symphony. You came in 2013 and you sang Grieg Peer Gynt with the Tampa Bay Symphony. And then also, again, you came back and sang Madama Butterfly highlights with Sam Hall. So you've been a guest there twice. And I guess one of the, I don't want to say most exciting, because they've all been so exciting. But I guess I say this is most exciting because it had a professionally produced DVD associated with that. And that was when you sang Susanna with the company in 2014. And I think I've got some pictures here. I'm going to try out my technology, and again, hopefully people will be patient with me, but I'm transitioning, and you can't see it, but the screen is split now. You're on one side live, and there's a picture of you in a red dress with white gloves wearing a hat in Susanna. I bet you know that picture because I pulled it off your website.
I do, and I also remember that picture because when they took the photographs for that, I had gloves on. But I didn't end up, I think I didn't end up wearing them in the show or something like that. And so I always know exactly when that picture was taken.
Yes, it is the one with the gloves. Was that a dream role for you as Susanna? What would you call your dream roles?
Well, Susanna was a dream role. And I know we had discussed it, and one of the reasons why it was always a dream role is that I think the Palladium Theater, because it's an unconventional space, is such a welcome space to do unconventional projects. And it was the first really contemporary thing that St. Pete Opera had done, and the set was gorgeous. Remember, the orchestra was in the house, and we got to walk through the orchestra, so it was sort of a part of the scene. And the music is just so gorgeous. And I think one of the brilliant things about this company and about the space in which it performs is that I think it invites people into the opera in such an amazing way. And so it was a dream role for me, and the way that I got to fulfill it. And then the fact that at the last minute, we found out that we actually got to produce a DVD of it that's now nationally marketed. Was just absolutely over the top amazing.
And we're going to have a whole mini chapter about Susanna and the DVD, and I'm actually going to play one of your arias for the audience. But I'm going to kind of move through quickly to some of your other things. I switched the photo over to a picture of you and your brother Sam. He's got his arm around you sitting on the stage. So it's perfect that you talked about how the space is a little bit unconventional, and you can see the framework of the house and you can see the orchestra back there. What's it like performing with the orchestra so close to you and behind you?
Well, it's actually really great. It's a very different experience, and I think, as you know, I have a little bit of an unconventional past as far as my career goes. I love performing, and I also love working on the other side of the arts. And I've been really fortunate to be able to balance those two things. Um, so I have been performing a lot with St. Pete Opera with the orchestra. Sort of that sound is surrounding you. You can hear it in real time. You don't have to think like, oh, this person is out there in the pit. But then a couple years ago, when I sang Pearl Fishers in Opera Tampa, it was the first time in many years that I had done something in a big space with an orchestra pit. And you realize you can't see the audience. And there's good and there's, well, I mean, it's just different. There's good things and there's bad things. It's very interesting to be able to perform in a space like the Palladium where the sound is all around you and you get to really interact with the audience. And then there's that other side of things where you get to perform without knowing that there's just a sea of people out there judging you and enjoying the experience. So I think it's really wonderful. I love it. I think everybody should experience it.
Well, in addition to your opera roles, you've done many types of appearances with St. Pete Opera. You've been a frequent soloist on our seasonal Sparkle. I've just put up a picture of you singing Summertime at Seasonal Sparkle. So you're in a beautiful sort of white cream-colored dress, and the orchestra's behind you. Tell us why you were singing Summertime at a holiday show.
Because of the creative genius of Maestro Mark Sforzini. And I think when we first did Seasonal Sparkle, we did Bohème, we had ballet, we did very seasonal stuff. And the first year it was done, there really wasn't anything like that in the Tampa Bay area. There wasn't anything that was really holiday themed, and so it was really unique. And then I think as the amazing artistic community here grew, we just branched out a little bit at that time, and we decided to do something a little bit different. And so you had a wonderful idea to do the whole year, so you did each season. And so there were some holiday favorites thrown in for the winter season, but then I was representing the summertime because it's always summer in Florida.
Yeah, I love that picture of you from the summertime. And now I'm going to transition over to a picture of you in the Tales of Hoffmann. This was another role that you did with St. Pete Opera. And this first picture, you're in Act 3 with Dappertutto, who was played by Will Roberts. Yes. Yeah, what was it like? Will is such a wonderful artist. What was it like to work with him?
He was amazing. That whole cast was amazing. It made me really fall in love with that opera, and that was new for me. I had seen it several times, and now I'm just completely smitten with it. But that cast was amazing. Yeah.
I think, and I'm recollecting this, and I hope this isn't too personal, but I think between, when Susanna happened and then this role with Giulietta, you hadn't been doing quite so much singing, but I feel like there was something about doing the Giulietta and the Tales of Hoffmann that really reignited your passion. Is that sort of correct? Or
yeah, I think that's correct. Yeah, and that's not too personal. I mean, I think that we all as artists go through different periods of time, and you have to have a really thick skin to put yourself out there when your instrument is you. And so, yeah, that show really, it was an incredible experience, and it was something that my soul really needed at the time. Yeah.
I remember you coming up to me one night after rehearsal, and you just had the best twinkle in your eye, and you said, "I'm singing opera again, and I'm loving it so much."
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna transition to a shot of you with. Oh, now why isn't it transitioning? Okay, thanks, people. Thanks for your patience. Here we go. Okay, transitioning. You and John Conaclides Hoffman. It looks like he's about to kiss you. Do you know the picture?
I mean, there was some kissing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of some kissing, I have dug up a clip of the duet, a section of the duet that you and John did together from the Tales of Hoffman. I wanted to share it with the audience. It has what looks like a pretty steamy kiss in it. But is that real kissing, or is that something actors sort of pretend they're doing?
No, it's acting. It's acting. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty steamy looking. I have to say.
Yeah, I think Tom would agree. You were pretty steamy.
You guys did a great job with that. But of course the singing is what we're really most interested in. So I'm gonna see if my tricks learning this new software, if I can segue us into this scene from St. Pete Opera's 2017, The Tales of Hoffman. Tell us just very briefly what your character Giulietta is doing with Hoffman in this scene. What is your goal?
Oh, sure. So Giulietta is a high-class prostitute. She's a courtesan, and she has been convinced by the devil incarnate to capture Hoffman's reflection, which will, in fact, steal his soul.
All right, so I'm going to pull that up. I'm having a little bit of trouble getting that to come up here. Let's see if I can get that to... Oh, I see. Okay. Live. This is live. I want to remind everybody this is live. This is live. And we are back with Susie Hellman. I see that you have a glass of wine also. Let's have a virtual toast.
Cheers.
Cheers.
To opera.
To opera. So I thought that was a great role for you. And obviously, I think Suor Angelica is a great role for you also. That was the last big main stage opera role you did with the company. But you've certainly done a lot of singing on our promotionals, our outreaches, our Maestro series, and we've gone to churches together, we've gone to universities together, we've gone to elementary schools together. What is it that you like about doing those other kind of outreach and promotional events?
Well, so from the first time that I was here in 2010, I recognized that the community here in Tampa Bay is just absolutely outstanding. There are the regulars, there are the people who are constantly moving down here to get to this beautiful weather. I think that St. Pete Opera has done an incredible job of making opera fans out of people who have been lifelong supporters of the arts and lifelong supporters of opera and absolute newbies to the art form. And I love interacting with the people in this community. They're so gracious, they're so kind, and they're so supportive of the arts, which, we always say, oh, it's more important than ever. It's really more important than ever right now. It's a really incredible experience to get to interact with the people around here. They make this what it is. Yeah.
Well, over the arc of this 10 years, the Susanna DVD, which was produced by Naxos, was certainly an exciting thing because there's no professional DVD of Carlisle Floyd's Susanna that exists. So I want to spend just a little bit of time talking about that. I want to show our listeners. I'm showing them right now the front of the DVD jacket and the inside pictures on the cover. Carlisle Floyd Susanna filmed at the Palladium Theater, St. Petersburg, Florida. The Helen Torres Foundation was actually the sponsor of that production. And it was really exciting to see the reviews come in. And I'm flashing up to one in particular, Opera News, Carlisle Floyd Susanna. It's titled Cry For Me. The first home video release of Carlisle Floyd's seminal work is powerfully raw. Tell us a little bit about what it was like to work on Susanna, the opera Susanna.
She's like Suor Angelica. She has in a sort of a short period of time an incredible character arc. A lot happens to her, and it was amazing. Michael Unger was such a great director to work with, and he had Jen, who came in and worked with us with square dancing, and which I was not good at, but I gave it my best. And again, it really goes back to, at St. Pete Opera, the musical experience and the casts and the artists that are brought together in the space are incredibly special.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the arc of your character, because I'm going to quote from the Opera News review that I was just showing our listeners. And they really go into the arc of the character and how well you portray it. So I'm flashing up here now a little bit from the Opera News review, September 2017. As Susanna, the innocent girl whom the village elders deem a sinner when they spy her bathing naked in a creek, Susan Hellman Spatafora at first overflows with unsullied youthful exuberance, unaware that her beauty inspires lust in the village's men and jealousy in their wives. In Ain't It a Pretty Night, the opera's most popular number, her soprano has the perfect, yearningly optimistic coloring, golden and radiant, intensifying Susanna's imminent tragedy. Spatafora's desperation at the end of Act 1 is heart-rendering. She truly cannot understand why anyone would say such terrible things about her. By the time she sings her Act 2 aria amid the deterioration of Susanna's life, Spatafora's voice has grown raw with emotion and richer in overtones. Because she embodied such innate goodness at the beginning, it's startling to see her in the final scene defiantly holding a rifle and laughing bitterly at the hypocrisy of the villagers who have come to confront her. So that is from the Opera News review I was just showing people. You're back on the screen now. Do you have any favorite lines from that final scene when you're holding that rifle?
Oh.
I'm trying to remember what you said to the elder about you can't. Oh no, he says the line to you. Gun went. She says yes. He says that to you though. Yeah, yeah. I think that I'm in total agreement with that review, and I just loved how much Opera News devoted so much text in the review to talking about what a great job you did with the arc of the character from beginning to end. And I want to tell our listeners that this is a nice accolade for the St. Pete Opera Company, that for the year 2017, Opera News published an international list of the top 10 recordings, and the Susanna DVD by St. Pete Opera was number 2. So you obviously had a big role in that. Congratulations. And you know, when I think of Floyd Susanna, I often think of Ain't It a Pretty Night, the Act 1 aria first, but they also talked about your emotion and your color in your Act 2 aria, The Trees on the Mountain. So I was going to treat our listeners to that now, if that's okay with you. All right. So let's do a little bit of Trees on the Mountain.
Falls
And I'm back live with Susie Hellman Spatafora. Wow, that was a fantastic rendition of Trees on the Mountain. Holy cow. So I wanted to take some questions and answers. While we were enjoying Trees on the Mountain, I took a couple minutes to look at the live feed. Susie, you have so many friends watching and cheering you on and saying wonderful things, all also deserved, about your singing and your work on stage. There was also a nice salutation for Patty Hibbert in your beautiful dress. Patty did costuming on Susanna. And also some shout outs for Keith Arsenault's beautiful lighting. He was our lighting designer for that production. And I did get a couple of questions, so let me read this off the feed here. This is actually from Dr. Josh Miller, who stage directed Suor Angelica. His question is, what do you think happened to Susanna after the curtain drops? Meaning, if there was another act to the opera, where would she be?
Is that a question for me?
That's for you. Yeah, where do you think Susanna, what happens to Susanna in the sequel, in Susanna 2?
Hopefully she's living it up in Nashville or Asheville or Knoxville. I'd like to think that Susanna doesn't just hole up in that horrible little cabin with her brother. I think that she takes some time. I mean, I'm an idealist. I'd love to think that she takes some time just to maybe figure herself out and then get the hell out of that town and experience the fact that life is more than what she had experienced in that town. I don't know. I'm going to think about that, Josh. That's a great question. We should write the sequel. We can call Carlisle Floyd and ask.
It is a great question. You know, we think about that with a lot of operas, like what happens in the sequel to Carmen for the characters who happen to live, you know, or what happens to Suzuki after Butterfly dies. And there's another question here for you, too. Well, this is sort of a compliment wrapped up in a question. Your colleague, Kelly Curtin, asked, how is Susie always so perfect?
Oh, come on.
What's your secret, Susie?
I don't have a secret. I have to say Kelly Curtin is always perfect, and I love singing with her. And I think that there is a perfect recipe, and it has to do with the casting of these shows in this space, in this community. It's a magical experience, and we're very, very grateful to St. Pete Opera for giving it to us.
Well, we're heading towards our home stretch here on the show and our interview. One of my last questions for you is, where are you sheltering in, and are you doing any vocal work for anything while you're sheltering in?
I am sheltering in here at home with my wonderful husband Christopher and Winston the dog, who's just left my feet. I had a performance of Turn of the Screw scheduled in Miami. It has been postponed for the end of October, so I was supposed to be leaving St. Pete for the month, April 15th, and it's just sort of given me some time to inhabit the character. I think, as many people know, there are days that it is very difficult to do anything artistic, but I love singing so much right now. It's making me really happy, and so I'm just sort of singing things for fun that make me happy, and fortunately I have a space in my house where I can do it. Yeah.
Yes, it's definitely an interesting time, and this is a bizarre time. You hear people say that all the time. It's an unprecedented time. It's a strange time. It's a bizarre time. For somebody who's probably a type A personality and overachiever and used to always working hard, I've had a lot of ups and downs through this time, but I want to say to the world that, we are going through a global pandemic, and it's natural to have some down moments. There's a crisis going on in the world, and it's hard to carry on sometimes just like nothing's happening. I've had, I've had days where I've just felt good if I could, get up and feed myself and kind of cover the basics. And then I've had inspirational days where, I've been able to feel like, wow, I could really get something done. But it certainly is not all of the latter. It's a trying time, and I think all people should be kind towards themselves and kind towards each other as we navigate all the feelings and emotions that go through with what we're experiencing right now. So I just can't even say what a pleasure it's been having you here, Susie. I miss you so much in the office every day. But I know that we're always going to have our music making relationship as it continues when we come out of COVID-19. And we were in the midst of doing a series of performances for the Museum of Fine Arts, and the last one of those got canceled. I know you were also doing some performances there with a dancer. Were you actually able to do one of those, or what happened with those?
No, because we got things canceled. So the day that they started canceling things was our final performance for SPO at the MFA. And my performances with Charlotte were supposed to be March 19th and 21st. And I'm sure that we will find a way to do the collaboration again. And I just have to imagine that the arts that are coming out of this through the screen are such a welcome addition to life on the inside. And once we get back into the theaters, what a magical time it's going to be.
Yes, amen to that. Amen to that. So I thought it would be fun to wrap up tonight a little bit different, that we will say our goodbyes, and then I'm going to let the last 6 minutes of the broadcast be Solveig's song from Peer Gynt by the composer Edvard Grieg. You came and performed this with the Tampa Bay Symphony back in 2013. And I am also the conductor of the Tampa Bay Symphony, and I miss my Tampa Bay Symphony musicians so much. I hope some of them have tuned in. Actually, it was Barb Van Patten, one of our violinists. She sent a comment about Keith's wonderful lighting, so I know Barb is there watching. But this is a tribute to you and to all my wonderful musicians of the Tampa Bay Symphony, who I can't wait to get back to regular weekly rehearsals with. We're going to cut away to Solveig's song. Could you just sum up very briefly what this song is about?
Waiting for someone, waiting for something, and knowing that is going to come.
And that just seems so appropriate right now. So, I want to thank you for being with us tonight. And I'm Mark Sforzini, Executive and Artistic Director with St. Petersburg Opera, as well as the Music Director of the Tampa Bay Symphony. And I'm signing off tonight. We are keeping our listeners and our artists in our hearts. I hope to see you again soon. Soon in this case means next Monday night. We are going to broadcast another one of our operas from the archives. And we are having a lot of exciting discussion about which one we're going to do Monday night. So just watch the emails and social medias for that. But I want to thank you so much, Susie. And we're going to transition out here to the Solveig song with the Tampa Bay Symphony at the Palladium Theater in 2013 with Susie Hellman Spatafora performing as soprano. Thank you so much, Susie.
Thank you, Maestro. Thank you, everyone.